Channels gathered in the masses just so they can listen to the ODcast. Open minds that plot construction from Dylan's voice and his paint structures. In the fields, the body's burning. But that's a painting from Dylan's canvases. Music and comedy to mankind. Opening the brainwashed minds. Oh, ODcast!
I can't top that. I had like one line.
Okay. That was good. That was good.
Hello and welcome to the ODcast. My name is Dylan.
And my name is Oscar. And today we'll be talking about Black Sabbath's Discography Part 1. We originally were going to do the whole thing, but then we realized it's a lot. And we try to do it, but things happen throughout it, so we couldn't fully dedicate on the whole podcast, whole discography. But we're gonna go talk from the first album to Mob Rules, right?
Yeah. Which is 1982, I believe.
1982, 1983. Let me check right now.
Yeah, so that will be all the Ozzy years, and then the first two Dio albums.
Yeah.
So then I haven't listened past that point yet, so I don't really know who sings after that.
Mob Rules is 81.
Okay.
So right after Mob Rules is Live Evil, which is a live album with Dio.
And so there's 3 Dio albums technically.
And that's going to be the last of Dio's era until we come again at 1992 with Dehumanizer. So
all right.
Yeah.
I'm really curious what happens in that saga later, but I don't want to just hear
Let's not
the
talk
opinion.
about it. Let's not talk about it. I'm just going to say put in your big boy pants because it's going to be a ride. But before we talk about it, we have a lot of stuff to talk about and do about before we talk about Black Sabbath. The first one is our beer review of Tangled Roots Brewing Company 108 Double Stitch Ale, Kane County. I got this in Elgin. I was at a liquor store, and I was like, all right, I'll try this out. Obviously, they're from Kane County Brewing, some kind of brewing company in Kane County.
Where's Kane County? Oh, shit.
It's outside of Chicago, northwest suburbs.
So it's like a local Elgin area beer.
Yeah.
Is Elgin in Kane County?
Yes, a big chunk of it is in Kane, and another chunk is in Cook.
Elgin is spread over multiple counties?
Just 2.
I didn't know you could do that. A city or a town or 2.
I found out Bartlett is 3. Bartlett is Cook, DuPage, and Kane. Bartlett is a town in the northwest suburbs.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but is it just huge geographically?
Nah, it's just they're in the place where the boundaries are there.
Well, this is clearly from the packaging a baseball-themed beer. It's got. Are there 108 stitches on a baseball or something?
I don't know, but I'm gonna say yes.
108
I'm not a
double
baseball
stitch. Oh, it says it right there. In every baseball, there are 108 double stitches.
Okay, I guess that's the point. That's how it is.
That's an example of not trusting your audience to be smart enough to figure it out on their own. Spelling it out. Weren't we talking about that on Umran's podcast? Like being
about certain
trusting people to be smart, audiences to be smart.
Yeah.
I forget how that.
We
came
did talk
up.
about that. It was I forget how that was brought up, but
we're time traveling here because I think this episode's going to come out before that.
Yeah, so a little teaser for the ODcast fans. But let's
Umran Syed interview.
Yeah,
June
coming up
30th ish.
Yes, you will see that. It was a good interview. Our second interview with musical guests from the Chi-Town area. But before we talk about Sabbath, I think we should talk again about, bring up the famous topic, Ask Dylan Anything.
I don't know how famous it is. I feel like it's something that people, when they saw that, they were like, God, I have to fast forward through 20 minutes of Q&A.
I think people did enjoy it. At least I did.
Well, that's all that matters.
Okay.
If the podcaster enjoys the episode.
So, first question comes from Genuine Gun Kelly. I'm obviously changing the names. I'm not telling you who they are, but I'm giving you hints. Genuine Gun Kelly said, "What movie or TV show do you watch when, like, is a good, like, when you're feeling down or upset or sad? It's a good comfort movie."
I don't really use movies for that anymore. When I was younger, I had a couple VHS tapes or all DVDs. The Matrix, that was always something I could put on and enjoy. But now I'm just addicted to YouTube. I just watch endless YouTube videos about various fairly niche topics.
Well, because what do you watch when you're down in the dumps on YouTube?
I like video game speed runs.
Dude, I got hooked on a TikTok streaming of a guy doing a speed run of what's the name of that the Soul show, there's 4 of them.
Dark Souls.
Dark Souls. There you go. They were doing a speed run of Dark Souls, the 4th one, right? Is it the 3rd or the 4th one?
There's 3 Dark Souls games.
The third one. They were trying to do that, and I heard the record is 2 hours.
I think there's the fastest category, which is called any percent, where anything goes. Like it's even under an hour. I think maybe 40 minutes or something.
Wow. Okay.
But there's Souls speedrunning is fascinating. It's actually one of my favorite genres because like there's all bosses runs.
Yeah.
There's like no damage runs. Or try not to get hit. They're very impressive stuff. So that's what I like to watch when I'm feeling down.
Okay.
What about you? What do you watch when you are feeling down?
When I'm feeling down, what do you're turning into Ask Oscar anything, aren't you?
I'm just gonna turn every question back at you.
What do I do when I feel down? What do I put music on, but I don't know. Like there's a moment in my life right now that even if I watch a TV show or a movie, if it's a new one, I just get annoyed because everything is so predictable. Like we were talking with Umran. Like there's a formula, and I just know what's going to happen next. To like this, and this, and it's just so annoying. So I can't watch a TV show from that. Maybe I'll watch old stuff, but I don't know. Nothing new.
There's some good shows that don't have that formula.
Can't think of anything right now. I mean, there are some, but but if I'm watching a show that will make me feel better when I'm depressed, then what is that? Or a movie? I don't know. I'm just gonna go with music. I listen to some music, but like that's not an answer.
That's an answer.
I enjoy Rick and Morty, but I don't want to call myself a Rick and Morty fan because those people are just very toxic. But I do find it...
In what way? Like they think it's the greatest thing ever and they won't shut up about it?
Yeah, and then they have like libertarian perspectives of politics, which is very annoying. I just watch because it's fun and just, I mean, there's a lot of thought put into it, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to think too much into it. I'm just enjoying the ride. BoJack Horseman I can't watch because it gets very psychologically heavy, and that's not a show to watch when you're just trying to relax.
That's what I've heard, but I've never actually watched BoJack.
Oh, dude. No. Sorry, it's just I'm thinking about stuff, and wow, it's heavy. All right.
Yeah, sorry, Genuine Kelly.
Yeah.
We don't really watch a lot of shows and movies, I guess. I mean, I watch them, but not to cheer myself up necessarily.
Mm-hmm. Back in the day, what I did was The Sopranos, but
Okay.
I'm giving The Sopranos a break because I've already watched it 3 times, which I know some people might consider that rookie numbers because I know some hardcore fans who have watched it like 7 times already.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Like I could see a movie watching more than 3 times, but a show that's
That
dozens
great.
of hours of content.
That show's great.
I need to watch it. I've never watched
It's
it.
great. It's great. It's also going to make you feel nostalgic because The Sopranos, they were in a special moment in life before the cell phones came, and they're slowly transitioning. You see society slowly transitioning to the smartphones at the end of the episodes.
Okay.
So and then this is like the first 3 seasons are before 9/11. And then after that is post 9/11, and you get to see a little perspective of how things are. Very weird. Very weird.
Cool.
Okay. Second question from another person, Instagram man. What artist inspires you the most?
I like a German painter named Neo Rauch or Roach. It looks like Roach, Rauch, but he's been probably my favorite artist since I was 20 or something, and I saw a show of his paintings at the Met in New York. I'd never heard of him. I was like, walked into the room, I was like, damn, this is exactly what I want to do. And then, so yeah, Neo, good old Neo.
All right, cool.
His wife, Rosa Loy, is also a great painter. They have kind of a similar style, actually. They both make paintings with lots of people doing weird shit. It's kind of surrealism, but a little more loose.
All right, cool. All right. Other question. If you could own a famous work of art, what would it be?
Painting by Neo Rauch.
Okay. All right. Good answer. Do you consider yourself competitive? In your
in
art
some
forms?
ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's your goal?
Any hole.
Any hole is your goal? Okay.
Haven't you heard that?
No.
Well,
Is that like a John Lennon thing?
I don't think so. I think it's maybe more of I don't know who said it or popularized it, but I want to say Danny DeVito in Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but I could be wrong.
Oh, that makes sense now.
It's just someone in his like
disturbing,
kind of
naughty
sleazy,
guy.
creepy vibe.
Naughty guy. That's your goal for any hole, huh?
Yeah.
Got it now. Got it. Okay. Are you hoping to be famous?
I mean, it's not the goal. My goal is holes. No, that sounds so wrong. Like I said, it's not the goal. I just want to keep making what I want to make, and if I can live comfortably off of it, that'd be amazing. But fame actually sounds like a really big hassle.
A lot of responsibilities and
and
nuisances.
I hate the idea that people, especially since we've been getting like haters on the internet recently, that only gets bigger the more people know who you are. There's always going to be some percentage of people that are hating on you, and so famous people have to deal with so much of that. And I guess you got to tune it out and focus on the positive. But it seems to have a lot of downsides.
True. All right, 2 last questions and that's it. This is from another person. Let's call her Lala. What is your favorite album artwork?
That's a good question. There's so many. I like some Shoo covers a lot.
I know which one you like.
Not the Naked Asian Man one.
Because we always talk about that one all the time.
I know. It is a pretty shocking, eye-catching cover. I actually like the one for the Air Force where it's just an old painting of Jesus with a crown of thorns. It's kind of random. I actually like album covers where they just appropriate an old painting that's in the public domain.
Kind of like Machina.
I don't think that's an old painting. I think that's someone new made that illustration.
It had that. Okay.
Yeah, it looks like an old school oil painting or something.
Got it.
I think that might have been painted by Billy Corgan's partner at the time, Yelena Yemchuk. She's a visual artist.
Oh,
She was.
that's adorable.
Yeah, but then they broke up.
Oh, that's sad. Okay, so this question is kind of funny because it goes into the topic we're having. The question is, what do you think of artists when they change singers?
Yeah, actually, me and Brooke were having that conversation earlier when we were talking about
Or
Black
instrumentalists too, like Metallica with like Cliff and
Yeah.
Jason and all that stuff.
Any kind of lineup change does have a big effect on the band. But the singer is kind of the most visible because a voice is so distinct. Players can change their style and sound different from album to album, and they usually do. Bands change up their whole sounds, but if the singer is a totally different person, it's going to sound very different, unless they get some weird sound-alike person, which would be weird.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really think of too many examples of that, but...
I mean, Sabbath is one.
But I mean, like someone who sounds very similar to the other person. I don't think Dio and Ozzy
they sound very
alike.
different. Yeah. Which is another one?
Yeah. Can you think of any other big
Bands that sound very alike?
singers? Well, or just like, what's a good example of Pink Floyd, Sid Barrett leaving and becoming Gilmore and Waters?
Yeah. Yeah. The tone changed a lot. Big time.
Sid Barrett sang on the first two albums, right?
Yeah.
Or first one, especially.
First, I mean, you arguably the second one too, because he was still in the band, but he was in the process of leaving, and it was also awkward because they asked David to be in the band, so there was some kind of awkward tension.
Oh, I didn't realize Gilmore wasn't in the band. He kind of replaced Sid Barrett then?
A little bit. It's awkward. I mean, it depends on who you ask. Did he replace him or did he quit the band? There's a lot of mental unstableness with Sid, and that's one of the reasons.
Well, Cliff Burton dying and getting replaced by Jason Newsted first, and then Rob Trujillo.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite bassist from Metallica?
I think Cliff is kind of the most special bassist. He was so, just compositionally, he would come up with really interesting classical arrangements and stuff on the bass, and I don't really hear any of their other bassists doing that. Rob's a great bassist, but
Metallica's music composition when Cliff was around is the best of Metallica, but when it comes to bass players, Rob is my favorite.
Yeah, he's got a great vibe about him.
He's really relaxed. He's
cool. Relaxed?
Yeah, I think he's relaxed compared to the other ones.
Yeah, personality-wise, he seems really chill and laid back. But as a performer, he's so aggressive. He's got that caveman stance.
Yeah,
pretty cool. Jason Newsted's kind of forgettable, in my opinion. I'm sure he's a great musician, but I always think of burying him in the mix on Injustice for All.
Well, that's all Lars's fault, man. Lars was playing pranks on him, which I think it's stupid that he did that. I don't know. The more I read into it or look into the dynamics of Jason and the band, I feel bad for Jason, and I don't want to make him feel like he's gone and forgotten. I want to give him the respect that he gets for helping the band, because he deserves better.
For sure.
Jason deserves better.
I guess he was the bassist on their biggest commercial hit album, the Black Album, or self-titled, whatever.
Yep,
all through the 90s. So he's probably quite well off from the royalties on that, assuming they didn't cheat him out of a share of that album's profits.
Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if that's something Lars did.
Right. I bet they took a bigger cut than him, because they're like, if you want to be in our band, you're going to get 5%.
Yeah.
The OG members will split the rest. I hope it wasn't like that, but I could see it happening because he came in when they were already so famous.
Yeah. See, it wasn't so hard. That's the end.
Good. Short and sweet.
Yeah.
I tried to give the shortest answers possible, and I also gave up on asking you every question because I'm just trying to get to the topic.
All right, the other topic, blind react.
Oh, yeah. So this is a song you haven't heard yet and you want to react to on camera?
Yes. You want to do one
All
song
right.
or two songs?
Let's start with one and
Okay.
see how that goes.
Okay, the song is called Orange Blossom by the band called JJ Grey and the Mofro. And Mofro, M-O-F-R-O.
Okay.
So let's hear it. What?
Well, I snuck to a window to leave her a note. Will you come meet me at the back of the grove? All the trees were in bloom, that sweet smell in the air. We were trembling together. We were young, we were scared, yeah.
I like those harmonies.
When I smell those orange blossoms, then I'm there.
Was not expecting a string section.
Were those strings? I missed the strings.
Maybe it was a keyboard playing strings. Maybe they'll play it
I'll
again.
hear it maybe on the next chorus. Older song.
I don't know.
One of the comments was just like, "Oh wait, where's the string? Oh, dude."
That sounded like horns then.
I definitely heard horns, and you might be right. There's a sounds like a cello or something.
Yeah. Is that the B52 Hammond organ?
Maybe.
Or B Hammond organ? Sorry.
B2.
Yeah, B2. Confusing myself with the band.
Yeah. I asked if it's old because the comment was like, "This was me and my late husband's song,"
Oh boy.
and maybe he just died like last year.
Could be.
But the way the comment was written sounded like it was old. I've never heard this band before.
Neither have I. So I don't know anything.
What do you think so far?
I mean, I really like the rhythm section. It's simple, but it has a groove. Would I listen to this in my spare time a lot? Maybe if there's another song from the band that catches me more, then I would. But so far, it just as this being what they have, not really.
Yeah, I would echo that sentiment. It's well made. He's got a good voice, but I actually do like some bands that sound similar to this. You know that song by Big Todd and the Monsters, Big Head Todd and the Monsters, I think.
No, is it that
It's
big guy that
Bittersweet Bittersweet Surrender.
Okay.
It's like a 90s, like, kind of roots rock song. Similar sound to this, and I actually really love that song for some reason. And this isn't that far from it. But something about it feels more generic to me. Like, I've heard songs like this a lot, and this one doesn't really have that much special going on that would make
Gotcha.
me want to listen to it again.
Yeah, I agree.
If I heard it at a bar or something, I'd groove along to it.
Totally.
It puts me in a good mood.
So, do you want to listen to another one?
By the same band?
Yes.
Sure.
This song is called This River, and we can see the official music video too.
We'll just have to see if JJ Grey publisher allows their music on YouTube or not, because if they block it, then I'm going to have to cut this whole part out.
Wah, wah, wah. I do like the guitar solo so far. Let's see how the vocals are going to sound. It's going to be raspy.
So you have a friend who really likes this artist? Is that the story?
Oh, they recommended me this. Like, hey, I want to know what you think.
I'm assuming because they're a fan, right?
I guess.
There's about a zillion bands in the world. Why would they care what you think about this particular band?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. We normally like just send each other song recommendations. So I'm guessing, yes, she does like it.
Would this be considered country?
Country inspired? Or would you consider it folk? Folk inspired?
Yeah. This one especially. I think I prefer this song so far.
Yeah.
It's a
Like,
song about being old.
Maybe. The vibe I'm getting, and I could be wrong, again, I don't know anything about this band. It's like a revival of Southern rock. Like if Southern rock was made by people from today, would it sound like this?
I think a lot of people are making Southern rock still. I don't think it's ever gone away.
But like
it's just all blended together, modern country.
It's got that bad taboo vibe.
Southern rock is a taboo? Why? Because of Confederate flags and stuff?
Yeah.
That's, I think, very on the down low now. Unless you're in the deep South around a lot of white people.
There's still some people who fight the whole it's a heritage, not hate argument with the Confederate flag. Which is just
that's a catchy line. I haven't heard that one. Heritage, not hate.
Very annoying. Very annoying.
This guy kind of looked a little bit like James Hetfield for a second. If Hetfield was singing this song, I'd be more into it.
You have.
That's interesting. He just morphed into an old man. This is the type of song that would get some like divorced dad right in the feels listening to it.
You can definitely tell that they're fans of Neil Young.
I mean, a lot of people are.
Yeah.
I don't hear that much Neil in it besides acoustic guitar and singing.
What about the visuals?
Visuals are...
It gives me Alabama Shakes too. Alabama Shakes vibes as well. I think it's because of the organ.
Sure. He's crying. Because you have a habit of bringing race into musical preferences. What race is your friend?
White.
Isn't
it surprising? I do have friends that happen to be white.
That's not that surprising. I think I know some of your white friends.
Trying to be sarcastic.
See, I don't think you can generalize about certain bands and race.
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be exceptions, even if there is a dominant demographic that likes an artist. But I would have been shocked if your friend was anything but white in this case.
True. She's Indian and she likes this stuff?
Yeah.
Oh. Sorry, I know I'm going in a tangent here, but like sometimes when you go into those YouTube rabbit holes, one of the videos I watch is it's from I think it's Wired, the magazine, where they grab this guy who is a professional accent guy, like who review.
Oh, I think I've seen those.
He said that the Indian accent and the Texan accent are the same. Not the same, but they have this like the same like vowels with the tongue and everything.
Wow.
And how they growl, like the Indian people from India do the same thing. And he kind of gave an example, but not by him doing it, but showing the videos. Which
would that have been improper if he had done the accents himself?
I don't know.
I've seen that guy's videos. He's really cool.
He's great. I like him a lot.
He does a lot of the accents himself. He like demonstrates.
Yeah, he does, and it does it in a tasteful way that makes you say, okay, this is not racist at all.
No.
All right, so that was it. What did you think of JJ Grey and Mofro?
I liked his softer, sensitive side. That song, I'm sure if I listened to it again and really paid attention to the lyrics, I would get a little more emotionally touched by it. I kind of wish it had a more memorable melody. I wasn't hearing anything that fresh melodically.
We're kind of right. I mean, I did say that it was Southern rock. They're from Jacksonville, Florida. So,
okay, I would have guessed that because I saw a comment. The lady who said it was her late husband and her song was from Florida too.
Aww.
She's like, I'm a Florida woman and this was my husband and I song.
Okay, so that's all I have for you, buddy.
All right, we can get to the topic now.
Yes, we can talk about Sabbath. How do you want to do this? Obviously, we're going album by album.
I have a little bit of some thoughts I wanted to start with.
Okay, so you want to go just overall and then talk about each one of them, or what?
This is actually even more outside. This is more of a meta comment about what we're doing on the podcast.
Okay.
But first of all, thank you for assigning me Sabbath. Because they're a band I had never really given much of a chance.
Yeah.
I'd heard some of the popular songs, War Pigs, Paranoid, and stuff like that, and Iron Man.
Yeah.
But I'd never listened to their full albums, and now I'm just getting into it for the last few weeks, but I would call myself a fan now. I really like them.
Dude, I know you would like them, dude.
And did you know that I didn't know much of their albums?
Yeah, because you told me this. Like you said it passively. And you also told me passively that you're not a fan. But I'm thinking to myself, like, dude, if you just gave it a chance, you're gonna love it, dude.
Totally. And that's why I think this podcast is really helpful for me personally as a music appreciator.
Mm-hmm.
Because I get to delve into like a discography that I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think they might be my favorite 70s British band now. Way better than Zeppelin, in my opinion.
Yeah, okay.
Not better is the wrong word because
Floyd?
as we decided, music is semi-subjective.
Yeah.
I prefer them to Floyd too.
I think King
Floyd
Crimson
is kind of
better.
sleepy. Well, King Crimson, what did they do anything that relevant after Court of the Crimson King?
Yeah,
that album is like
King Crimson's discography is the best.
But the lineup was just like Robert Fripp and various other people.
Oh, they
right?
changes all the time. Yeah.
When I think King Crimson, I think of that first album.
Yeah.
And which is a great album.
Yeah.
A little
Did
proggy.
Did Kanye ruin it for you?
No, he made it better.
Okay.
I love that sample in Power. But Black Sabbath, like, they're just everything about those, especially those Ozzy albums, it's like a perfect blend of all the stuff that I hear in bands like Zeppelin and even King Crimson. And then obviously I can hear how much it's influenced later metal and hard rock and stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's where that style of riff came from 30 years before like the song I had heard it in. So really enlightening the last few weeks of listening to Sabbath. I'm not super excited to hear what happened in the late 80s and 90s because I feel like most bands tend to get their best work out in their first 10 years or so. And I feel like I've already heard the best. And I'm curious to hear like Ozzy's solo work now that I know where he came from again.
Yeah, I should listen to his recent song that won a Grammy last year.
Really? He's still making new music?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
When I heard about it, I was like, yeah, no thanks. But maybe I should give it a listen.
What was it a Grammy for?
Like, best rock song of the year.
That's pretty impressive for a guy I was just looking up his age. He's like 73, 74 or something. Or wait, yeah, around there.
I thought he was in his 80s.
Yeah, he must have been really young in the early 70s,
Damn.
like 20 or something.
Yeah. Damn indeed. Okay. So,
So we can just go through the discography.
Go through the discography. Do you want to rate it afterwards?
Like each album?
Yeah.
We could rate it. The albums kind of blend together
Yeah,
for me a
they
little,
do.
because I listened to them like back to back over a few sessions. I went back and tried to listen to them each again individually, like out of order, so I could get a sense for what the album actually is.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can rate them, sure.
I'm also curious to know what your favorite is.
Okay.
So tell me which one your favorite is now, or when it comes up. I'll tell you which one is my favorite.
I, for some reason, was really into the late 70s stuff, and I was reading some popular opinions on the internet that people don't like albums like Technical Ecstasy and
Never Say Die.
Never Say Die, but I liked where they were at just musically then. Like Tony Iommi was getting super into layering stuff in the studio. They were getting really intricate arrangements, but still having that like rock and roll drive. So I like those.
Okay.
The first couple are amazing, obviously. But,
All right, well, let's start from the first one. Black Sabbath, 1970. What did you think? If you want me
really
to
spooky.
if
really
you want me to
great
tell you
start.
the tracks, I can.
Well, I know the first track is the title track, and and they're like band name, right?
Yeah.
Starts with some church bells, which when I heard that, I was like, damn, Metallica just ripped this off for Whom the Bell Tolls.
Mm-hmm. And AC/DC too.
Fuck AC/DC.
Hell's Bells.
Okay. So do you think Black Sabbath started that trend, the church bells in a song?
For something that's heavy like that, I would say yes.
Yeah, it was probably in some like Broadway
Well, I mean,
jingle or something before
The
that.
first, I mean, like maybe it was used, those bell tones was used in a doo-wop song, but it was a doo-wop song, you know?
Right.
You know, like Leader of the Pack, that trilogy song. You know, that's like the first story of a set of stories.
Leader of the Pack?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
The leader of the pack.
Okay.
You know, it's
I
about how
can
much she loves
picture
this
it,
girl,
but,
and how much she loves her boyfriend, and the boyfriend has a motorcycle and dies in a motorcycle accident and all that stuff.
Who sings that?
I forget.
But it was like 60s, 50s?
Yeah,
or
doo-wop
something?
60s music. Yeah, maybe there was some like bell tones, bell sounds that started a song in that era, but the one that capitalized it and made it their own, Sabbath.
It's a great way to start an album. And I read some quotes by the band members that said they saw a movie called Black Sabbath, a horror movie from early 60s. Have you seen it?
Yeah, it's directed by Mario Bava. It was originally called Three Faces of Death / Black Sabbath. It was called Three Faces of Death, and then they wanted to give it a, for the market here in the US. They changed it to Black Sabbath because Mario Bava's first movie was called Black Sunday, so they wanted to, get people to see his movie. I saw Black Sabbath. It's a 3-story horror film, and it was
like
some
an
good ones.
anthology type.
Yeah, Mario Bava's a great director, great horror B film horror director. But like Sabbath, you can make the argument. He was a trendsetter of all these horror films. Like he thought of some crazy things that later on you see like movies like Alien and referencing them and stuff like that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to check out the movie.
Good stuff.
Because apparently they were trying to make the musical equivalent of a horror movie like that.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool idea that I don't think anyone had tried at that point, to really scare people with like you have Helter Skelter by the Beatles. That's
but it's not
pretty
scary.
It's not. Well, it's scary in like a deranged, manic way, but it's not dark and horror. It's not evil.
For me, Beatles-wise, the scariest song from the Beatles is Long, Long, Long.
I can't remember how that goes.
It's
It's a
just-
White Album, right?
It's in the White Album as well.
What's scary about it?
It's just the way that it ends with the Hammond organs just playing, and then someone just moaning in the background, and then you hear some uneven like crackles from the percussion, and that's it. I don't know. That
Okay.
really made me feel uncomfortable. It's hard for me to be scared when I listen to music.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to do, in my opinion. But
Right.
Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath, that song does scare me, especially the part where Ozzy says, "Oh God, dear God, please help me."
That's so cool.
His delivery is great.
And I heard they recorded that whole album across 2 days, and the first day was the actual recording, and then second day was mixing. So those were like first or second take vocal performances, and you can tell they're so raw. But he hit those
And it
lines
costs
perfectly,
like $700 to make, or less than that.
which is probably a decent amount in 1970.
But still, like, that if you want to make a good album, you have to invest a lot of money, and maybe back then that it's not that much. Like, another album that was cheaply made but did really well was Nirvana's first album,
Bleach.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like most bands' first album, they're not getting a ton of money from a record label yet because they haven't proved that they're worth it. So
True.
they're often a little scrappy and more DIY. And usually bands' first albums are kind of their best. Their first, like, in a way.
Yes, I agree,
exceptions.
because this album is my favorite Sabbath album.
Okay.
It's like, I
It
know
is
it's
really good.
I know it has rawness and all that stuff, but like right after this album, which is Paranoid, you definitely hear the production has increased big time.
Yeah.
And it didn't lose the magic, but I feel like it lost some of the magic because Black Sabbath still had that grittiness, dirtiness that I enjoy. And I know it's controversial because I get into arguments with Sabbath fans about the best Sabbath album. I like this one because it still has that oomph, that scariness. And a lot of Sabbath fans don't like it because it's very bluesy. Just a lot of like blues solos going on behind it and all that stuff. And I think it's a good bridge for blues fans or rock fans to get to know what metal is. And I think this is a good album to introduce them.
Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah. And like there's some really good, like, what's his name? Geezer Butler's bass playing in this is really good.
The whole band's really
Yeah.
good. Butler's a great bassist.
Mhm.
And what's the drummer's name again? I forgot.
Bill Ward.
Bill Ward. I have such a newfound respect for him as a drummer.
You know, the funny thing about him is
You don't like him?
no, I really love him. I think it's hard to play his drummings the way he plays drums because it's very sloppy. There's moments that you even start thinking like you're not in tempo, but he makes it happen. Like still sounds like
On
sounds
that
solid.
first album,
Yeah.
you can, but I think the whole band's a little loose and like
Yeah,
on the verge of falling apart.
and I like that.
Me too. I think he's actually a really proficient drummer, especially when you hear him on Paranoid and On, when they actually have time to get it right in the studio.
Yeah.
He comes up with some crazy fills, like lots of notes where I usually don't hear him as sloppy, except for maybe on the first album.
And
I love the song he sings too. It's All Right. I forget what album. It's not on the first album. It's like third or fourth.
I don't.
It's called
I don't
It's All Right, and it's like a sunny, happy pop song. And it's, I think, the only time he sang lead on a song.
Huh.
It's really good.
That's funny. Wow, you did more homework than I did.
Well, I was listening to it, and I was like, this doesn't sound like Ozzy. And then
Yeah.
I looked up about the album. Did you find which one that is? It's either Master of Reality or Volume 4. I think Volume 4, maybe.
No, it's Technical Ecstasy. It's got to be Technical Ecstasy.
I think
Yeah, it's Technical Ecstasy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's another reason why that's one of my favorite albums for some reason. It's kind of more like glam 70s rock.
But let's go on. Let's go chronological here. So,
You brought up blues rock, and I like their take on it more than Zeppelin's. Zeppelin does blues in kind of a corny way. I don't think Robert Plant has a great voice for those kind of
Yeah.
songs.
Yeah.
It's always so high and like
yeah.
show-offy, where Ozzy just sounds like a regular dude who he can sing really well, but there's that raw, almost like a punk energy in his delivery.
Yes, and I know this sounds horrible, but this album is like the beginning of the end for him, because after that, it just slowly, it's not the same.
Well, yeah, it's not the same.
Yeah.
I think that's a production thing too.
Yeah.
They started like adding a lot of reverb and it almost sounds like double tracking on the vocals.
Yeah.
So I do really like the just raw vocal sound on Black Sabbath, self-titled.
I love it a lot. Did you like this? Because a lot of people hate this, but I think it's fun. The section of the album where it's just him playing guitar. It's just his guitar solo. There's no one else playing. It's just him.
Ozzy singing?
No.
Oh,
Tony.
What kind of song? What kind of guitar solo is it?
It was like it was in the last tracks of Black Sabbath, of the album Black Sabbath.
Electric, right?
Yeah, just electric.
There's no drums or anything?
No drums.
I kind of forget how that went, but
It was-
we haven't even talked about Tony yet. He's a phenomenal guitarist.
Yeah, dude, he's the best.
I don't know how you play like that with little rubber things on your 2 fingers or 3?
2. I think it's 2.
Okay.
Maybe 3.
I think you're right that it's just 2, like these 2.
And without getting too much into it, his guitar skills improve throughout the years.
Yeah. I mean, as they should. He's practicing.
Yeah, but like when you hear his disability, and he plays some really complicated technical stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't imagine doing that with missing your fingertips.
Okay, so how would you rate it, Sabbath?
I'd give it a solid 8.5.
I'm giving it a 9.5. I want to give it a 10, but I'm just gonna go 9.5. My favorite album, Sabbath by Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath. Second album, Paranoid.
Okay, well, probably has the most famous and memorable songs of theirs. Just the opening 2 songs are probably their biggest hits.
Yeah.
War Pigs and Paranoid.
Yes. Iron Man is in it too.
I've never liked that song, but it's a catchy, famous song.
My favorite songs from this album is Electric Funeral and Hand of Doom.
I don't know those by name, but I'm sure they're good. Oh yeah, this riff is so epic. Which one is this? Electric Funeral?
Yeah, and Hand of Doom, I like it because you can hear that a lot of people sampled this, like in the hip hop scene. That drum beat, Bill Ward's drum beat here.
It does sound kind of hip hop. Have people actually sampled it?
Cypress Hill, like I forget, the sampler from Cypress Hill is a hardcore Sabbath fan.
Whoa.
Like, you can hear from that kind of stuff. But one of my favorite moments of the song, again, it's Bill Ward's playing, and I think it's the whole band, but like I'm trying to find it. Let me find it. So, come on. Right there. For some reason, I feel like when you hear it, I just feel like someone's making a mistake, but they're not making a mistake. It feels off that Bill Ward's playing with Geezer and Tony and his drum playing, and it's...
This whole part feels off to you?
Yeah, it feels off, but I like it, though. I like it, but it feels very off. That little snare. And I'm not insulting it. I'm complimenting it because normally other bands would make it sound much more concrete, but they say no. Let's keep that.
Well, I think it's intentional to create that like galloping rhythm.
Yeah,
it's if it was just straight, it'd be dun, dun, dun. It's like I think it's considered the upbeat or offbeat.
But
with the snare.
Bill Ward's doing that instead of the drummer, instead of the guitar. It's like dun, 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 is dun, 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 dun. I don't know. I like it a lot. I
definitely heard moments like that in all the albums where they'll be doing some fast chugging thing, and you can hear either the guitar or the bass is like not quite locked in, but they're playing it live in the studio, and it's not like the Pro Tools era where you're like splicing and fixing things. So that little human element is definitely part of those early albums, and I like hearing that stuff too, just because it makes it feel more attainable to make a record.
Yes,
honestly,
yes, 100%.
There's mistakes.
Yes. So
and they put out these albums so quick, back to back. Like Paranoid comes out the same year, or maybe the next year.
Yeah, same year. Master of Reality 71, Volume 4 72, and then so on and so forth.
Crazy how prolific they were.
They sure were. But yeah, Paranoid's a great album. But the only flaw I have, maybe it's a good flaw, is like you definitely hear a difference of production from Black Sabbath to Paranoid, which is not that bad. But I'm like, I really do miss the rawness of Sabbath, of the first album.
Sure, I can see that. But just on a songwriting hit level, it's got to be up there.
9 out of 10 for me.
I give it a 9 too.
Okay,
which is half a point higher than what I gave the first one.
All right, Master of Reality. It's got songs like Sweet Leaf, After Forever, Embryo, Children of the Grave, Orchid, Lord of the World, Solitude, Into the Void. I can't think of the songs right now. The only one that pops in my head is Sweet Leaf.
Yeah, that's a famous riff.
Yeah.
There's a couple softer songs, I think.
I think this is the beginning of Tony going into his like softer classical side,
which I love.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting so much softness in them when I started the discography, but I like it.
Like you can tell, like this kind of stuff inspired like Metallica, Master of Puppets kind of thing.
Because of the master thing?
No, the guitar battery.
Okay, just having classical intros.
Yeah.
Yeah, Metallica, they wouldn't exist without Black Sabbath.
Yeah, a lot of
took
bands.
so much.
Of bands.
Yeah, a lot of bands.
But yeah, Metallica, big chunk of them. Going back to Tony. Yeah, I really love his guitar solos, but his strength is his riffs. I really enjoy his riffs a lot. I enjoy how heavy it is. I enjoy how catchy it is. Just
yeah.
He's a riff master.
My favorite riffs of his are the ones that aren't just constant eighth note chugging, because he has a few of those, and sometimes they start to just sound the same to me. But his most memorable ones have like weird rhythmic ideas that are really catchy and cool. And I love his softer, like acoustic playing and classical inspired stuff. His solos are they're technically very impressive, but I would agree that it's not his strongest suit. And I think that is where his injury comes into play, because he probably can't bend and sustain a note like Gary Moore could, because his fingers can't like probably grip the string the same way, and he's using super light strings to make it even possible to play.
And then he also said that one of the things about playing that kind of music, or the way he did it, you have to be light to the touch.
Yeah.
And when I heard that, that kind of bummed me out, because I can be light to the touch, but I'm a heavy player. Like I can play really rough.
It works either way. I feel like he has to play light because of his fingertips. Yeah. If he had normal fingers, he probably would have hit the strings harder, used heavier strings. But he found a way to make it work. I've heard guitarists say like, just turn the amp up super loud and then play like as quiet as you can is like the way to get the maximum tone out of the string.
Yeah.
Because when you hit it hard, it like chokes the note, whereas a soft pluck, it can sound just as intense as a loud strum, but have more like, you hear the actual note more.
I mean, that's like the same mentality with classical guitar playing too, when they do those pitch harmonics and all that stuff.
Classical guitarists do pinch harmonics?
You know what I mean, like, not pitch harmonics, but like...
Just like regular harmonics?
Yeah, regular harmonics. Let me take this out.
Yeah, you gotta hit harmonics kind of softly, otherwise they don't work.
I can do a pitch harmonic.
I have never seen someone do a finger-style pinch harmonic. That's really cool.
Oh, you saw it first, folks.
So you're like,
I just do both of them
with your finger.
No, I pluck both of them at the same time. Like
Well,
my thumb and my index finger, I pluck both of them at the same time.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
I never didn't know you could do that. I'm gonna have to practice that.
But yeah, I like Master of Reality a lot, but like you can tell that this is like the downfall. I mean, I don't know the biography of the band that well, but like Ozzy's not in it. Obviously, the drugs are controlling him here, and you can just tell that it doesn't have the same energy like he used to. I will say this: I am a fan of Ozzy era of Sabbath. I like Ozzy. I like the music of Ozzy era Sabbath a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I got to say. I'll finish the rest afterwards.
You know, I read that later that he was the whole band, but especially him, were really battling with substance abuse issues, and
Yeah.
obviously that's going to have an impact on the music. But I didn't hear much of a decline in either the quality of his singing or the songwriting. There's no hits like Paranoid and War Pigs or Iron Man on this one, but Sweet Leaf is a famous song. And
But Sweet Leaf is about weed. Like this is where like it slowly starts talking about drugs, you know, and
Sure.
it just it gets annoying. Yeah, I'll give this some like an 8.7 out of 10, maybe a 9. I'll give it a 9 out of 10.
like I don't remember a lot of the
Yeah.
songs too well, but I'll give it an 8 because it didn't stick out as much as the last two we talked about.
All right, and please tell me again, refresh my memory once it comes up, which one's your favorite album?
Okay.
But the next one is Volume 4.
I really liked this one.
Dude, there's hardcore Sabbath fans who loves Volume 4. They will die on Volume 4.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good album. I really like it a lot. But I just don't understand why people have this love for it. I think it's good.
Can you read the track listing to me? Not that I even remember the titles,
exactly.
but
Wheels of Confusion, The Straightener, Tomorrow's Dream, Changes, FX, Supernaut, Snowblind, Cornucopia, Laguna Sunrise, Saint Vitus Dance, and Under the Sun. Like,
well, I love Changes.
you know, what I remember from this album is like there's a lot of heaviness. Like you can tell, like production wise, Tony thought of some more intricate, they mixed it a lot heavily on the guitar and all that stuff. You can hear it. You can definitely hear like more inspiration of metal in the future to come. And I also enjoyed that they thought of more spaciness, because this album had a lot of like single note guitar reverb for like a minute or two. It's just reverb and that's it. And then boom, the band plays something heavy, and then they have changes, trying to have something that's slow and melodic and
bring out the piano.
Yeah.
This is when I was listening and I'm like, whoa, okay, this band has a lot more range than I was expecting.
Yeah.
The heavy stuff, it's great. It just feels like an evolution of the style they'd been developing for a while, but they're branching out. They're becoming more Beatle-like.
Yeah, I guess. But I'm going to give this album an 8.5 out of 10.
I need to listen to it again, because actually I think I only listened to this one once. I listened to the previous three we just talked about twice, I think. But this one, I enjoyed it the first time, but I didn't go back and listen yet, but I will. Just on that first experience, I'll give it a 9.
Okay. All right. Then the next album is Sabbath Bloody Sabbath.
What's some songs from
Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, A National Acrobat, Fluff, Sabracadabra, Killing Yourself to Live, Who Are You, Looking for Today, Spiral Architect. I like Looking for Today.
Maybe we should play a little of it just on your phone. I want to get another beer and also use the bathroom.
Okay.
Wow, very, very rock and roll.
Looking for Today. Well,
That's okay.
we're doing it
almost-
fast.
We're almost done.
Yeah, so looking for today.
You know, when you started playing that song, you can't tell me that Ozzy doesn't have a high voice.
Yeah,
That melody's really up there.
Looking for today. I mean, he does have a nice voice. He can sing high, but it's just.
I mean, I wouldn't call it a nice voice,
But
he does have range,
bland.
and
he does have range.
yeah.
I just think Dio can sing higher.
Oh yeah, Dio technically is a better singer than Ozzy.
Yeah. But let's pause with that because we're still in Ozzy, and let's respect Ozzy.
I
for what it
have
is.
the utmost respect for Ozzy now. It makes me sad
Really?
that when I was growing up, like he was just a punchline in pop culture. He's just like this extremely drug-addled, senile man who
Yeah.
wasn't even that old at the time. He was like, I remember when they had the Osbourne
Yeah.
reality show that
Yeah.
I never watched. He had to be what, like 50s and 60s?
Yeah.
Not even that old. But he acted like he had Alzheimer's or something.
Yeah, he did.
But I think he's not. He's not like that. I was watching a Letterman interview with Ozzy from the early 80s after he left the band and he was doing his solo thing. It was actually just after Randy Rhoads had died and he was on Letterman. And
Oof.
he seemed totally coherent and normal. And that was after all the drug use of the 70s. So I don't know when that
I don't know.
happened.
I think drugs just has a way of just slowly grab your health even after you think you're sober and fine. But then again, maybe there's a lot of variables. Maybe he's got these kinds of illnesses.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Is he diagnosed as having any sort of like mental deterioration
I don't know,
or
but
any?
I forget,
Parkinson's
maybe.
or something?
But I do know that Jack, his son, has a terminal illness.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And you
Jack does like ghost hunting content now.
know, he does.
He had a show where he like looks at paranormal footage and reacts to it. Anyway,
Is that why you like him? You love that stuff.
I love that stuff. I haven't seen much of Jack's
I didn't know that
content,
about Jack.
but
I remember when I was a teenager, I had a huge crush on Kelly.
she's cute.
Yeah, and now I'm glad that I got over that crush because things has not aged well for her. I don't like her.
I haven't seen her in probably 10
she
years.
just her political stance is just a little bit too dumb for me. She's
Fair
trying to
enough.
be woke, but when she's not. Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath is a good song, you know. What I do like about it is like the song Sabbath Bloody Sabbath has some really heavy moments.
Keep it away from the mic. Yeah, it's a great riff.
Especially at the ending.
Do you think U2 was inspired by this song?
Oh yeah, I can see the Edge liking this kind of stuff. Do you see Bono saying like, "I want to sound like Ozzy"?
Maybe.
Yeah. That the drumming and the ending. Down. Yeah, Bill Ward is a great drummer, man. He's fantastic.
He doesn't hit the drums with the same kind of like finesse and tone that John Bonham did.
Yeah.
But I still kind of prefer what he plays.
Then John Bonham, yeah, so do I.
He reminds
So
me of
do
like
I.
a mix of John Bonham and Mitch Mitchell because he has the kind of like jazzy, like fast
Oh my God,
fills.
You're right, dude. And they're all British too.
Mitch is British too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jimmy got those band members when he was chilling in London.
Right.
Um,
I don't love Mitch Mitchell. He needs a little of that John Bonham, like hard hitting
But-
backbeat sometimes. So Bill Ward's a perfect combo.
Well, what Mitch Mitchell's so good at how fast he can play and has that jazzy element, like the song "Light My Fire." Mm-hmm. That's just really quick. It's just like what I like about Mitch. It has that like that childish energy, like like I can play fast. Kind of like Animal from Sesame Street, but cooler
I
and
was gonna
better.
say Keith Moon.
Keith Moon is cool too.
He's a little more spastic.
Yeah, I guess he is. But Let's
Back to
change-
Bill Ward, yeah.
because I do want to talk about drums and all that stuff, but that could be another topic. And I have a controversial
Yes.
take about drumming, which some people will not like to hear. But
You can't just tease that. You have to say what your take is.
I do have a favorite drummer, and it's American and it's a woman, and it's from the same era. as them.
Sheila E. Or
No,
is
it's
that
from
her
the
name?
same era. Sheila E's great too. She's
Karen
fantastic.
Carpenter.
Yeah, it's fucking Karen Carpenter.
This
I wish-
isn't
I
going to
wish-
be
I
my
wish it-
next.
I wish you kept it quiet though, but now people know.
I can cut that out.
No, it's okay. Let people know.
So you like anorexic girls, huh?
Guess I have a taste for a little bit of everything.
Yeah, Kelly Osbourne and Karen Carpenter, pretty far opposing poles.
Yeah. One has talent and the other one doesn't.
You know what I read that
That's
Sharon,
kind of rude. Anyways.
their mom, was the daughter of Black Sabbath's manager in the 70s, and they were managing the transition from Ozzy leaving the band and like trying to find. I think they like were the ones. Her dad was the one who maybe found Dio, or like.
Yeah, I have a friend who kind of told me the story behind that, and it got very, very, very rough.
And then they end up in love and getting married.
But Sharon Osbourne's dad did something really horrible to Sharon and Ozzy. Something, I forget the story, but like my friend told me, but like he grabbed his dogs and attacked them both. Something
Her
like that.
dad attacked his own daughter
Yeah.
with Ann Ozzy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I think it's because Ozzy was saying, I'm going to do my own thing. And I prefer if you can manage it. But then they were like, no. I don't know if it was that or if he tried to tell that Sharon's going to manage it and he got angry about that. But no, man,
Weird.
I have utmost respect for Sharon. I know she can be a little bit of a snake. But like hearing her background and how she has to deal with her dad, I have so much respect for her. I guess her dad's like, it makes the devil look like a kind person, kind of thing.
I'm going to have to look up
Yeah,
pictures of her back in the day because I bet she was really attractive.
Yeah, totally.
Because she aged really well, too.
Yeah,
even
she
into,
has.
like, when she was on the show in American Idol and stuff.
You know who hasn't aged well? Paul
Who?
McCartney.
He's, like, in his 80s. Give him a break.
So is Sharon. Maybe 70s or 80s.
She's got to be in the same age as Ozzy, who I just looked up. He's 74.
All right, let's look.
Paul's a little bit older and is doing okay for a man of his age.
You know who's older than Paul and looks better than Paul?
Who?
Ringo.
Yeah, Ringo is mysteriously youthful.
You're right, by the way. Sharon Osbourne is 70 years old. So we'll see how she looks when she's 80. If she gets to live that age.
This took a weird turn. I hope the members of the Osbourne family don't somehow find this podcast because I'll be embarrassed that they're hearing what we say.
And then we were talking about how we don't like haters in our podcast, and here we are just bashing.
See, the thing about haters is that it's just human nature.
Yeah, dude.
Like,
yeah.
you can be extremely virtuous and be like, I'm never going to speak ill of anyone, but, you're thinking it.
So would you say, going on that comment, would you say that jealousy is a human nature aspect as well?
Totally.
But it's not a good thing to control or to have. Like, to be a person
No.
that's always jealous all the time, what kind of life is that?
Yeah, we have to rise above our animal instincts in order to...
Rise above. You got to rise above.
Henry Rollins. Black Flag.
I'm so happy you got those references.
Yeah, good band.
But yeah, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath.
Would Black Flag exist without Black Sabbath?
You're right. No, Greg, I always have a hard
Ginn?
time pronouncing his last name. Greg Ginn? Because I always want to say Ginn. He was a hardcore Sabbath fan.
Okay.
In fact, there was a transition. Black Flag wanted to play fast, like punk music. There was a transition where he wanted to play slow and heavy, and he referenced Sabbath a lot. Like, I want to be slow like Sabbath. Like, I think what's much more scarier and heavier is to see a freight train just walking slow, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. you know.
Except move out of the way.
I mean, yeah, but yeah, of course. But
Black Sabbath has plenty of mid-tempo and even fast songs. Like some of their biggest hits are pretty fast.
like what? Paranoid? Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, but nowadays that's normal tempo, right?
It's not fast,
Yeah.
fast, but it's not like sludgy stoner metal.
I mean, it's Immigrant Song by Zeppelin is faster though.
yeah,
Dun, dun,
Zeppelin
dun, dun,
has
dun,
Zeppelin has faster songs and kind of a little bit more of a upbeat, manic energy than Sabbath. But even despite Bonham sometimes playing like really slow, heavy beats, in general, they're a faster band.
Mm-hmm.
I just something about Zeppelin has always like not completely connected with me. I can respect all the musicians in it,
dude.
but,
I ended a lot of potentially good friendships because of that. Because I don't like Zeppelin. I am now, in my age, I am now tolerating Zeppelin. Now I understand what Zeppelin is. But when I was a teenager, I just couldn't get it. I hated it. There was only a few songs that I really liked from Zeppelin, like Your Time Is Gonna Come, When the Levee Breaks, songs like that. But I could not deal with like, I did like Dazed and Confused, but hearing it a lot annoyed me. I didn't care for Stairway to Heaven.
yeah.
But like going to your tangent with that, like, yeah, Zeppelin is a better band, but I don't know. The thing I like
I don't
about
think they're a better band. Technically,
I agree. But what Sabbath has, their music was much more, not only better, but like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like,
integrity.
it wasn't fake. I don't hear fake vibes from Sabbath. When Zeppelin, I did feel a lot of fake vibes.
Yeah, me too.
You know?
And part of it is like stealing all the blues songs and lyrics, which Sabbath plays some heavy blues riffs, but it always feels like
It was their own. Like,
yeah, they made it their own
Yeah.
more so. Good. I'm glad we can agree.
yeah.
You know, I've noticed something about you though, where you'll say you hate a band or an artist, and then you'll be like, "But I do like this one song."
Because I do want to say, like, I gave it a chance. Like,
But you genuinely like a couple Zeppelin songs,
Yeah.
even though you, as a band,
now
in
I'm
general,
slowly liking them. Like, now I'm slowly understanding them.
okay.
But back then, I'm like, I still don't like Jimmy Page. People like die by Jimmy Page saying he's the greatest guitarist out there, but I'm like, I don't know.
He's similar to Iommi in a way where he was the only guitarist in like guitar bass drums lineup, and he in the studio was incredible with layering sounds.
Yeah.
But live, he sounds like shit because
Yeah.
he's trying to play. He's probably on a bunch of drugs and alcohol in the height of Zeppelin, and he can't play that stuff with one guitar.
You can't. I mean, another artist like that, but still find a way to be amazing live is Brian May. Because he
That's
layers
true,
stuff
but you have
very
Freddie
heavily.
Mercury sometimes playing piano, which helps a lot.
That's true. You're right about that. I should listen to Queen's live stuff in the 70s and 80s. Like before Live Aid happened.
Right, I was going to say,
Yeah.
Live Aid's pretty classic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear that too. I think Brian May is just kind of a super genius and figure out a way to get. He had incredible arrangement and like parts that fit the song.
All right, quick, because we got to talk about Sabbath, but quick, without just quick. What's your favorite Queen song? Go.
Killer Queen.
Killer Queen. Mine's Good Company.
I don't know that one.
It's like the Dixieland jazz one. Take care of what you got. It's the song before Bohemian Rhapsody.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, but going back to Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, I rate this album an 8 out of 10.
I'll go with your rating because I don't have a strong opinion that's different, but I do like it. So 8. Well, no, wait. This is the one. I don't remember any of the songs from it. Fuck.
Just Sabbath Bloody Sabbath and Waiting for Today, Looking for Today. It also has Fluff, which is a kind of acoustic song, like classical play.
I forget which songs they are now, but there's a few songs on these albums where Ozzy goes into a little bit of the like the frou-frou Lord of the Rings style Robert Plant kind of lyrics.
The birth of fantasy metal as well.
I don't like fantasy metal at all. Sabbath kind of pulls it off better to me than Zeppelin does.
I agree. Like songs like Fairies Wear Boots is kind of like absurd, but for some reason it kind of pulls off like you can, something interesting. Maybe the birth. I mean, it is the birth of stoner metal too.
Yeah, I hate it when they go into like, oh, the mountain tops are glistening with the elvish wine. I hate that shit, but I'll tolerate it with Ozzy. This is just jumping ahead to the 80s. Dio goes too far into the fantasy metal shit. I don't like it.
Yeah. Okay, Sabotage.
I really like this album.
I like it too, but again, they're slowly not as good from the first albums, So I give this one like a 8, like 7 out of 7, 7.7 out of 10.
I really like the backstory of it, though. Did you hear the title is a reference to their like legal troubles, and they were having disputes with their managers or someone was kind of screwing them over financially, and the album is about that. And I read on Wikipedia, which who knows how reputable of a source it is, but there were like lawyers all over the studio during the making of it, and sounds like things were pretty tense. But I feel like that made some good songs. There's like a really gritty, like tense energy to the riffs on it. And Iommi just keeps getting better and better with layering unusual sounds. So I remember really being impressed by this album. I couldn't tell you the individual songs, but I know it was good.
While we're talking about this, I just want to make this comment. Geezer Butler is fantastic. His bass playing is amazing, phenomenal. I really do enjoy that he thought of some good bass lines, like that changed music history. Like he's got to be one of the best bass. Like the more after I looked into Sabbath's discography, he's a great bassist. Like he's got to be one of the best in rock and roll history.
Better than Jack Bruce.
Who's Jack Bruce?
Cream.
No.
I actually think Jack Bruce is overrated and like overly busy as a bassist. Geezer never feels like he's overplaying, even though he's playing really cool shit. So
yeah, it's just he knows when to like be back, and he knows how to be front sometimes. He knows how his bass lines can be the main front of the melody, and sometimes he can be just the rhythm. But anyways, I just wanted to say that because Geezer's great. He has a book out, which is basically his memoirs. And I guess it just got released this month. And I guess he's making the big announcement that he's retiring from the music industry. Ooh. When I heard that, I'm like, dude, you haven't done anything in 5-7 years. Relax. He's been teasing the fans, and he's been teasing people that him and Tony might record again because Tony invited him. Because Tony still wants to record music and do stuff because he still has some riffs that he wants to do. But he was telling Geezer, like, I kind of don't want to do metal riffs. I kind of want to do blues music. And, he's kind of teasing Tony. And everyone's like, that he might do it, he might not. But whatever. I would like to hear Tony play blues, to be honest. I think that would be fun.
Like really pure traditional blues?
Or his version of what the blues is,
But there's a lot of bluesy Sabbath songs.
I know, but yeah, and it's because of Tony. And I just am curious to listen to it, if it ever comes out.
Does Tony ever sing?
No.
I didn't think so, but that's interesting to me. I guess people like Robert Plant, Jimmy Page, I've never heard him sing a note either. So some of these guitarists, they stay in their lane of guitar.
Mr. Gilmore sings. David Gilmour sings.
Yeah, he's a good singer. What's after Sabotage?
Technical Ecstasy.
All right, this is one I said I really liked, and I'll stand by it. I like the Bill Ward song. It's really catchy and gives me a good feeling. And I remember the first song really being the first couple songs, Iommi starts getting into some pretty wild, there's a guitar solo after every verse, and they're really technically technical. They're
Technically
technically ecstatic.
Yeah. A lot of people don't like this album. A lot of people say that's Sabbath's worst album. Like in the Ozzy era, that is. What I've noticed about this album, like you can tell, like since from the beginning, they were the ones who started doing things. Like they were the trendsetters of metal, of music, whatever, right? And from here, you can see the transition that they're going with the flow of what music is. Because this is my argument, and I know it's a little bit controversial. You kind of hear like a disco, like funk vibe in Technical Ecstasy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
And like you never hear that in the other albums.
Yeah, and this
Yeah.
you got to think of the time. What
Yeah.
is it? 77.
This was recorded in 76. But like, you know,
So, like, disco starting and-
75 through 79 kind of thing.
Yeah, they're definitely going with the trends,
Yeah.
but they're putting their own kind of heavy spin
Their
on
twist to
it.
Yeah.
I really admire that about them, their willingness to like branch out to other genres in a way that still feels authentic. Because I don't know about you, but I can only take so much like sludgy metal
I
about
get
the
that.
devil and like needing God to help you.
Yeah.
Like if their whole catalog was like the first song of Black Sabbath, the self-titled album, I wouldn't be able
tired.
to
I get that.
do it.
Yeah.
And there are bands like that. That's probably why a lot of diehard Sabbath fans who like the doomy, dark stuff don't like this album. But I like it because
it's just funny to hear like the like octaves on the bass. I'm like, what the hell?
Davey 504.
And then I'll give this album a 7 out of 10.
I'll give it a 10.
You know, so it's your favorite album, right?
Yeah.
You know, this is the argument I make. Even a bad Sabbath album, it's still a good album in the metals, in the subject of metal. Like, I prefer listening to a bad Sabbath album than a mediocre album from whatever band, you know?
Yeah, me too.
Because it's still good. Never Say Die. This is Ozzy's last album.
Right.
In this era.
If I wasn't kind of skimming the Wikipedia entries along with listening to some of these albums, I wouldn't have guessed that this was the end. It doesn't sound like he's miserable and out of ideas with the band. It sounded pretty competent to me.
I agree. Like, it felt like, okay, they're getting their groove back. They're like, this is the album where like they're trying to fix the problems they have, and there's hope and something happening with the band with Ozzy, because there was some really good stuff. Like the beginning of the song is great. Never Say Die. All these songs are just really well done.
Yeah, I would agree. I liked it.
Oh shit. Oh, and also another weird thing about this moment. Sorry, I just had to hear it a little bit. They introduced the synthesizer in the band. You slowly hear some synthesizers here and there.
I heard they actually added a dedicated keyboard player around this era. It might have even been Technical Ecstasy period.
Yeah, it could be another reason why you like it. And then you okay, well, we'll talk later. Because it's another conversation, but in the music of it. Later on, you get to hear more synthesizer stuff as well.
Like even after the Dio era?
During the Dio era is what I'm saying.
Oh, I didn't really pick up on much synth. It just sounded like hard rock.
Yeah.
Kind of early hair metal or something.
But yeah, I rate that album an 8 out of 10.
Same.
Okay. Now, a new era of Sabbath, Heaven and Hell.
Like,
what did you think?
Well, first of all, like, do you know why exactly Ozzy left the band? Was he just sick of being in the band?
No,
or
I think they kicked him out
for drug use.
And he was just too much. Like, he was getting incompetent.
Well, I mean, once he started his own thing, he seemed really like revitalized and like went and made Crazy Train and stuff like that. Like he wasn't totally like incompetent. I feel like part of it was Ozzy too, being kind of sick of that atmosphere and wanting to explore making music with other people. Because I heard that he kind of like distanced himself a little bit.
I could see that.
I don't know the story. We're all just repeating secondhand information.
Yeah, and I didn't put that much research. I just listened to the music. But like, from what I could see, is just the heavy drug use really affected everyone around the band.
Were all the other members also doing it? Was Tony doing it?
Maybe, but I think not as bad as Ozzy. Or maybe Ozzy's one of the ones who unfortunately has that addictive gene, you know? Once you're into it, you're hooked and you want more. You know?
I think part of it's also being the singer. The other members have to sort of maintain a certain level of sobriety to play their instruments properly.
True.
And you can't be totally wasted and sing in tune, but Ozzy's probably spending a lot of their recording sessions drinking and waiting for his turn to get in the vocal booth, and there's a lot of downtime as a singer if you don't play an instrument. So
yeah, I see that.
maybe that was part of it. Yeah, you wouldn't. We've never seen Ozzy like strumming a guitar, right?
No,
he doesn't play anything.
I've never seen it. No.
It's so interesting to me how singers emerge and how their approach to music is. They can come up with some of the most memorable melodies, but they don't have an instrument to figure it out on. They're just using their voice as the instrument.
Well, I've heard that's what Michael Jackson did.
He didn't play anything either?
No, he
I feel like heard him play keyboards.
Maybe keyboards, but like he mimicked how he wanted the instruments to play. And then he layered it with his voice, you know?
Oh, cool.
So that's how he did it. You need to pee again? No, you don't.
No.
Okay. Sorry. I think that Ozzy is the weakest link out of everyone in the band.
I disagree. I think.
Who do you think is the weakest link of the band? I think
they're a band where everyone pulls their weight.
I don't think Ozzy
70s.
pulls his weight that much.
Those 9 years of albums, they wouldn't exist. They wouldn't be legendary status without Ozzy. We put another singer in that spot. Maybe it would have worked. It would have been totally different, but Ozzy is integral to the band.
Yeah, but
I'm with you that his voice is kind of bland. It's not like the most interesting, great voice.
And I'm with you that Ozzy's Ozzy era of Sabbath, the music is the songwriting wise is the best. But I just think Ozzy could have done more. Because, like, did you hear the songs with Dio, in the Sabbath era?
Yeah.
Where he plays the original songs, like Paranoid, War Pigs, and all that stuff?
Oh, I didn't listen to the live album. Oh, shit, I want to hear that.
No, you got to listen to it. It's on Mob Rules on the deluxe edition.
It has Dio singing those Ozzy songs?
Yeah, and he does a really good job.
You know what this reminds me of? We glossed over this, but on Never Say Die, apparently he had already left the band after Technical Ecstasy.
Okay, really?
He quit, and then they got a new guy and everything. It wasn't Dio yet. It was some other singer. Wrote some new material, and they were going into the studio to record it, and then Ozzy was like, hey, I want to be back in the band.
Oh, my God.
And they let him, and they had, like, we got these songs written with this other singer. Let's work on these, and he refused. Ozzy wanted to start from scratch again because he didn't want to sing another guy's songs.
That's annoying.
It is
very annoying. I get Ozzy's point, but
Me
like
too.
you're the reason that you chose to fucking leave the band. You know,
Yeah.
and then you want to come back, like, because it's so annoying to start from scratch too.
It is, but maybe they kept the riffs and he just came up with the new melodies, and obviously they would have to rearrange the ideas to fit. But yeah, he didn't want to sing another guy's lyrics, and I get that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting
But-
that Dio did sing some of Ozzy's songs.
But get this, I guess I got to do more research. But some of the lyric content was not written by Ozzy; it was written by other members of the band.
Okay. Yeah, that's a fairly common practice, I think, that the other members might contribute lyrics. I just have a lot of respect for Ozzy as a songwriter too, not just as a vocalist.
You're weird for saying that. I really don't. I don't even care that much on Ozzy's solo stuff. I think the only song that makes me feel like touched is "Mama, I'm Coming Home."
Is that a solo Ozzy?
Yeah, it's like in the '92s with Zakk Wylde.
Zakk Wylde. Oh man, I actually have. So Zakk played with Ozzy. He was like his guitarist for a while.
You can make the argument that Ozzy discovered Zakk.
Cool. You know, I read a quote from Zakk in preparation for this where he doesn't. Obviously, he's going to be a diehard Ozzy supporter because he gave him a career, but he doesn't seem to like Dio. Or he said that Sabbath with Dio shouldn't have been called Sabbath. Is basically, I'm paraphrasing, but he doesn't believe it's the same band, and I agree.
I agree with what he says, but
they should have been called like
you
Dio Sabbath.
You shouldn't hate Dio.
No, I definitely don't hate him.
No one should hate Dio. Like the more you look into Dio's life, he's a cool guy.
Tell me a bit about Dio's life, because I don't.
Well, get this. His career started doing a doo-wop music.
Really?
Yeah. But it was called Ronald James Dio and whatever, right?
It wasn't called Dio Wop?
Not that's funny. But like he started doing doo-wop, and then after that, like he saw the birth of rock and roll. He's a huge Beatles fan. He liked it, and he wanted to do something like that. Then
So
I don't know. I don't know. No.
He was like, I'm going to be the metal guy now.
But like he got into like other bands like Cream and stuff like that's heavy stuff, and I don't know the full details of it. There's a cool documentary that I've been wanting to see about Dio's life, but like he was in Rainbow. I think maybe he was in Rainbow, and then like his fame got bigger and bigger, and that's how the band in Sabbath asked him to join Rainbow, and then he left the band. He left Sabbath so he can start his own solo group. And he got big because of MTV. They just played his music over and over again. And get this, he did all this stuff without doing drugs. Or maybe he did do drugs, but he didn't do it hardcore like Ozzy did. He always managed to have a normal lifestyle, enjoy music. He was super respectful and nice. He seemed like he was always a sober man. And get this, which is really weird to hear this in the music and rock and roll industry, he had the same wife or partner for decades.
This all definitely checks with how he sings. He's like that nerdy technical
Yes,
singer.
he's a nerdy technical guy.
But he gets that metal edge too.
Yeah.
But it's like kind of a practiced, studious metal voice, not like raw angst.
I mean, I think we noticed that there's more common people who are like this, but at that time, like during Dio's time, I think it was very rare to see someone who, a person who loves the Beatles and also loves Cannibal Corpse. Because Dio was one of them.
Cannibal Corpse existed in the early 80s?
No, but like in the 90s, he was still like, he was a supporter of Cannibal Corpse and that kind of music.
Okay.
So like it was nice to see a person like that who embraces all kinds of music without showing any kind of disgust or hate for it. But let's talk about Heaven and Hell. What did you think? Ronnie, this is Ronnie James Dio's first his debut with Sabbath.
Yes. When I first started listening to it, I was immediately very turned off by the new vocals. I missed Ozzy. I thought the new guy was like trying hard in a weird way, and it didn't fit. It just didn't feel like Sabbath. And the worst part to me, he's a very technically gifted singer. Nothing wrong with his like chops, but it was getting into that fantasy metal kind of lyrical content that I really don't like. It felt like Dragon Force or something.
Yeah, which you can make the argument that
Dragon Force is definitely inspired by like the Dio era of Sabbath. So, but it grew on me, and I listened to Mob Rules next. I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself, but then I started to like come around to thinking, okay, Dio's okay. It's just a different thing than Ozzy. Like I've listened to both of them just once each, so I'll go back. Yeah. I actually listened to I'm gonna try to remember it. What's the famous Dio solo album?
Oh, like Holy Diver?
Yeah, I listened to Holy Diver.
Isn't it good?
It is
Holy
good.
Diver! See, I wish I could sing. I mean, I think it's easier for me to sing like Ozzy, but like imitating Dio, I think it's very hard.
Yeah. Dio is pretty incredible as a vocalist. I just don't get down with his like choices and taste as much.
I get that it's an acquired taste to like Dio. I love Neon Nights and Heaven and Hell. I do enjoy that, like the metal chug, like the guitar chug, and then here he comes. Oh yeah, here we come again. Like I'm thinking that.
Oh yeah, it has like harmonies too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, like when I first heard this, like, is this gonna be Holy Diver? Because it had that vibe, but it wasn't Holy Diver. But
Holy Diver's later, right?
yeah, it's later. But like I was thinking to myself, like it had that vibe. When I was hearing that.
You know, Paul Gilbert, guitarist,
Yes.
like shred guitarist.
Yes.
He just released an album earlier this spring called the Dio album.
Uh-huh.
It's instrumental, where he plays all of Dio's famous riffs on guitar or vocal lines on guitar.
Uh-huh.
I think the first song is Neon Nights, actually.
Dude, Neon Nights is a great song. Like when I first heard it, like like decades back, I thought it was okay. But now hearing it again, it's like this is a good song.
If you have a lyric like "Protectors of the Realm" or whatever in
You
your
just
song,
go with it, man. It rips, dude.
No.
It rips. You just gotta go with it. Like
Sing about something else.
I'm not a fantasy metal guy either, but like I make an exception with that song.
I mean, I love Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, all that shit, but
when it comes to
keep
metal,
it out of my metal.
Yeah, I get that. I get that too.
Keep my metal about Satan and pagan rituals and burning down churches. Get out of here with that. That's like Knights of Malta, Knights of Sidonia, Smashing Pumpkins.
I don't want
shit.
dragons in my metal.
I don't want dragons in my metal.
That should be a T-shirt. The ODcast. I don't want dragons in my metal.
I think it's a
Keep dragons
valid
out of
point of
metal.
view.
It
I
is.
wonder
I
how
see
many
it.
people agree with that.
I mean, like we've already talked to the people from Through and Through. Like there are specific metalheads who like certain things. Like Guido, right? The guitarist. He cannot do sludge or drone metal. He cannot do the slow stuff.
right.
He likes to have quick stuff. I happen to like both, like because I understand the world of that drone stuff. Like because you're in the, it's an ambience, like an ambient music, but just heavy.
Within reason, I think a
Yeah.
band like Sun, where there's no drums, it's just super slow, heavy tones. I think that's boring.
It can be boring. It is boring, but I have a friend of mine that introduced me to that stuff, and I see it. I understand the perspective of it.
It's probably cool to experience live and
Yeah.
like just as long as you have a decent pair of earplugs, so you're not killing your eardrums.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Just feeling the vibrations in your body. I'm sure that's a great experience, and the atmosphere of a smoky venue and
Yeah.
strobe lights.
Yeah.
I could get down with that, but I'm not going to put on a Sun record in my house and be like,
Washing the dishes,
that would.
preparing food.
I mean, maybe I should try it because. Fuck yeah, maybe I would like
Mopping
it.
the
I've never
floor.
tried it. It just sounds distasteful to me. But
And then you have to like, oh, the record just stopped. I got to turn the record back, put the needle back, or change the new note.
it's like the John Cage, the slowest music. I think it's an acronym that stands for as slow as possible, and it's being played in some church somewhere in Europe, and they're changing a note every like 3 years or something.
Yeah, and it's still going to be played until after we're dead. You know, like
Oh yeah.
three centuries. Yeah, I heard
It's that kind of stuff.
But I heard it's very meditative to go there.
I would want to go when they're going to change to a new note. That makes it like a pilgrimage. Like people are like, oh, they're going to change the note in as slow as possible.
Should we do it? Should you and I go for it?
The next one might be in like 2030, but we'll keep our eye out for it.
Dude, imagine all the people would go there too. It'd be like a pilgrimage of all these music nerds.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, Heaven and Hell. I give it an 8.5 out of 10.
I'll give it 2 ratings. As a Dio album, 9. is a Black Sabbath album.
5.
2.
2. Okay, look, I'm not trying to persuade you, but what I want to say is that you can definitely hear in the band, like the members of the band, they're happy to have someone that's not Ozzy, someone that is listening, someone that's willing to cooperate, willing to talk things out. You can tell that the whole group are writing songs together and trying to help. Granted, they're not good songs compared to Ozzy Sabbath, but you can definitely tell they're excited and they're happy, which they haven't been in a while.
I recommend you read the Wikipedia entries on Dio's time in Sabbath because it wasn't all sunshine and roses. Apparently, Dio was very like pompous in a way where he didn't want to take any notes from the other band members because he thought he was musically more gifted than them. And I think that's part of why he left after Mob Rules, because he was like trying to take it in his own direction, and they were rebelling because they've been a band for 12 years. They wanted to do their thing, and he was like, no, we should do it this way. And they kind of shot him down. So he's like, no one's going to tell me what to do because I'm better. I'm like a better musician than any of them.
Wow.
So that's why that kind of also colored my opinion of Dio as like a bit of a prima donna, and probably for the best that he went solo and didn't try to.
They went from an alcoholic, drug using prima donna to a sober prima donna,
which is arguably worse because you don't even get a break.
Yeah.
When Ozzy's passed out somewhere, at least the other members can do some work, but Dio is just like micromanaging everything.
It's like, dude, we asked you to come here. You don't have to be the leader. Okay, I see that. All right, so in the last one for the episode is Mob Rules.
I preferred this to Heaven and Hell because it was less fantasy metal and more like felt like political commentary in a way, like just the title track.
It's funny you say that because I prefer Heaven and Hell than Mob Rules. In fact, so far from what we're saying, this one's my least favorite album.
Wow.
I'll give it a 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10. Like,
I didn't love it, but by the time I listened to this one, I accepted the idea of Dio being the singer, and it didn't like turn me off as much. And I just, like I said, I like the sentiment of like, if you're a fool, Mob Rules is sort of the lyric.
What does it mean?
I think it means that like idiots just follow the trends and what the mob says.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing about rock. Like the masses are dumb and they'll just go with whatever's popular.
But it's interesting you say that because when if you listen to it again, the live versions, Dio says it to the fans. Remember, guys, if you're a fool, and then everybody says Mob Rules. So I feel like it was kind of like a hypocritical stance for it, or kind of calling them idiots too.
I think that's kind of part of it.
Yeah.
I think Dio was just that kind of a jerk in his messages.
But he was very good at his performance was very good. He knows how to talk to the audience and all that stuff. And I really enjoyed that. And I've seen Ozzy do his performances and how he talks to the audience, and it's not the same.
You know, Ozzy is like David Lee Roth, and Dio is Sammy Hagar.
The only difference is this, though. Dio can sing like David Lee Roth.
I think it's the other way around. I think Dio has got more Hagar.
But Hagar, I don't think Hagar's that good of a singer. David Lee Roth is a better singer, though. Wow! That kind of stuff.
They can... Yeah, David's got range, but he's kind of like an everyman, kind of like goof, kind of like Ozzy.
Yeah.
And Sammy's a little more technically skilled, I would say.
Do you prefer Van Halen with David Lee Roth or Van Halen with Sammy Hagar?
For me, it doesn't even matter because I'm there to listen to Eddie's guitar.
Yeah. You got a point there.
I think they have more classic songs from the Roth era, but...
I got into a heated topic with a coworker of mine about it. He preferred Van Halen with Sammy Hagar than Van Halen, because he said that Sammy Hagar was more professional and know how to do things. But
it's exactly like Dio. Probably a more sober guy.
Yeah.
Because David Lee Roth was a notorious addict party guy when he was in the band originally. Hagar and Dio, they're kind of like they filled the same hole in a band that was already world famous and needed a new singer. And they were like, we're more put together, we're more technically skilled than the last guy, but we're just not as, we don't have the same energy.
Okay.
Dio is kind of just like a nerd to me. And I
Yeah.
love nerds, but keep them out of my metal band.
Keep
Make
it
my
up.
metal band a bunch of evil, degenerate alcoholics. That's how I like my metal.
Now I kind of want to hear like a, what's his name? The lead singer of Weezer. What's his name? Rivers Cuomo. Like a bunch of Rivers Cuomo look that, you know, but like they'll dress in black and they'll play metal.
Why? Because
I
they're
don't know.
nerds?
Because they look nerdy. See how it would sound like?
Interesting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Like Rivers is a huge metalhead. That was his thing before Weezer.
I didn't know he was into metal. I knew he was a
yeah.
huge pop, like top 40 pop nerd. Like he loves top 40 music.
That too, but you see photos of him as a teen. He had the long, glammed out hair and was like playing Jacksons, and he was in like metal bands in the 80s.
Another one that's surprising is I forget his name, and I feel bad for saying that because I like him a lot. Do you like the Mountain Goats?
Sure. I haven't listened to a bunch, but
Dude, the
I
Mountain
think
Goats
they're
are great,
they're
dude.
good.
They're great. The lead singer, the member, the leader of the band, I forget his name.
Josh Darnielle or something.
He is a huge metalhead. He loves death metal. He loves black metal a lot. He knows his stuff. He's like a walking encyclopedia of that stuff. But he doesn't play
Really?
it. But he doesn't play it because he knows that he can't, or like he doesn't have the range for it or anything. So he plays that kind of music, the Mountain Goats, because he knows what he's good at. And I know this might sound controversial, but the more I look into it, I think he is the best lyricist in rock and roll history, better than Bob Dylan. I know that sounds controversial, but like his stuff is very good, dude. Very good.
I've heard a couple songs that I was impressed with the lyrics. His vocal style,
It's not there. I get it. It's not bland, but it's
definitely not bland.
But
It's so in your face and like unusual that you gotta. I think it's a bit of an acquired taste.
it's a bit nerdy.
Yes.
Yes, but his lyrics, man, is just it's out there. It's like something very prolific. He knows how to paint a picture with his words.
I'll have to listen to more of them.
Okay, people, this is the ODcast. We just finished Black Sabbath Part 1. In the future, we'll be doing Part 2, and we'll be finishing the discography.
Is that going to be 2 episodes from now?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Along with maybe like whatever the next topic is, because I don't know if we need to spend a whole episode on
Or it can
Sabbath
it can be a
post-83.
short episode. Or whatever. But I think you already know this, but like one of the albums is technically not a Black Sabbath album, but for marketing purposes they called it a Black Sabbath album.
like Tony Iommi presents Black Sabbath or something.
It's the Seventh Star. He produced it and he recorded everything himself. He songwriting wise.
Mm-hmm.
But the record label told him, was like, you need to put Black Sabbath is the title because nobody's gonna buy it as Tony Iommi. So technically that's not a Sabbath album, but you should listen to it.
I will. I think when I was looking through the discography, it's included in Black Sabbath's discography, so I have to listen to it.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of things we have to listen to,
Yes. What's the next topic?
I would
Dylan's
like
topic.
to. I haven't been assigning you music lately, so I'm going to make up for lost time with a big assignment.
Oh, jeez. Okay, what is
An
it?
entire band's discography.
Of?
But don't worry, there's only 9 albums. We're going to listen to Steely Dan.
Oh, dude.
What do you think of Steely Dan?
I hate them. It's funny you say that. Hold on, I just need to get the discography.
How much
up.
have you listened to?
That's what I'm telling you.
All of it?
No, it's funny you say that because back in the COVID times, like when it was fresh out, and like I was telling myself, oh, I got to do a discography thing, right? And I was finishing listening to King Crimson and Kanye West. I was like, oh, let me listen to something else. So I said Steely Dan. So I was halfway through the discography. I stopped after Gaucho because I just couldn't deal with it. So I listened to Can't Buy a Thrill, Countdown to Ecstasy, Pretzel Logic, Katie Lied, The Royal Scam, Aha, which is their famous one. And when I heard Gaucho afterwards, like, I just can't do it.
You made it through all the kind of famous ones.
Yeah, I did, but then the other ones that are there, I'm like, Jesus. Okay, yeah, we'll listen to it. Let's do it.
I haven't heard most of those. I have Gaucho, and I think it's pronounced Asia, because that's the song on the album where they say Asia.
I want to say Aha.
Yeah, because you're Mexican.
Yeah, but
I like both of those albums, but I haven't heard the other ones before that or after that.
Are you a Steely Dan man?
Not really. In fact, about a year ago, I was having a conversation with somebody where they were like, do you like Steely Dan? And I was flat out like, no, I find them like clinical and weird and boring. But lately, every time I think of like, what's an example of well-made, good rock and roll with like just enough jazz to make it like intellectually interesting? Like Steely Dan's always the first band that comes to mind. And I have a lot of respect for their like approach in a way. So I want to listen to all of it.
Okay. They're the fathers of yacht rock. If you own a yacht, you're going to listen to Steely Dan.
Yeah, but modern yacht rock doesn't have the same integrity, I would say, as Steely Dan. It's a bunch of hipsters wearing boat shoes.
Oh God!
trying to sound jazzy, but they don't know how.
No, that means we have to cover a Steely Dan song.
I mean, we'll do something simple. God. We'll do like Reelin' in the Years or something.
Or what's the one that all the hip hop people sample?
I don't know.
Da da na na na, da da na na. You know I love you better. That song.
See, I don't know much of their stuff. I know those two albums. If it's not on Asia or Gaucho, I don't know it.
De La Soul sampled them. Yeah. All right, cool. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, it shouldn't take that long. I don't know how long the albums are.
It's going to take long. It's going to take a while.
I think 9, though, is a lot less than Black Sabbath.
I don't know. I think this is going to be much more torturous.
You're already halfway there.
No, I'm going to listen to it again from the beginning.
Okay,
yeah.
Me too. Well, that'll be the next one, and then we'll do Sabbath Part 2, Umran interview coming up in between somewhere, and yeah, we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
Definitely. Toodles. Bye.
Ta-ta.
Ta-ta for now. All right,
cha-cha real smooth.
That I've ever had. She was my woman. I love her so, but it's too late now. I've let her go. Changes. I'm going through changes. We shared the years. We shared each day. In love together, we found a way. But soon the world had its evil way.
My heart was blinded, love went astray. I'm going through changes. I'm going through changes. It took so long to realize that I can still hear her last goodbyes. Now all my days are filled with tears. Wish I could go back and change these years.